I am not suicidal.
Stop laughing about black.
I am not suicidal, and I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
And now for what's trending in true crime. You remember that very bold declaration by actor Jussie Smollett after he was convicted and sentenced, and now he's back in the headlines. His appeal to disorderly conduct, that conviction was just rejected. Now, he was released pending his appeal, but on Friday, an appellate court in Illinois upheld that former Empire star's conviction in a 2-to-1 decision. And that ruling stems from him being charged for lying to police about what he called a racist and homophobic attack back in 2019. Smollett was sentenced to 5 months in jail last year, but he only served 6 days of the term before he was released. So now with this case in limbo, our question this morning is, when can we expect him to actually go back to jail and serve out that 150-day sentence, if ever? Let's bring in our guest first, still in studio, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Noah Pines, and joining us now, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Sam Braverman, and Georgia's former director of the Department of Family and Children's Services, Tom Rawlings. So good to have all of you on. Sam, let me start with you. This is one of those cases where people have been watching it. It was a pretty big deal that he was released pending his appeal. What do you think happens now where he is out and his team is looking for the Supreme Court to potentially look at this case?
Well, it's always hard to get the Supreme Court of any state or the United States to join up on a case. It's always a very long shot. But this presents a pretty good argument. I like the double jeopardy argument the best, where this decision, which was a divided decision, and it's not a resounding decision like the special prosecutor claimed it was, but the argument was that there was no contract. There was no deal in place such that Mr. Smollett performed and therefore now has jeopardy attached to his case. I actually think that's a reasonable argument from the defense, and I think if they take it up in the Supreme Court, that's the best bet he's got. If that loses, then he goes back to jail.
And no, it's discretionary, so the Supreme Court doesn't have to take this case. But what do you think will happen in terms of, should he go back to jail now? The appellate court said, we don't want to put you in there while we're deliberating this because it could be more than 150 days, which they were right. So do you think the same thing is going to apply, or now that it's just discretionary on whether or not they're going to even review it, should he go back to jail?
Well, a lot of times you'll wait till the appeal is over. So in Georgia, once a case is on appeal, like, the trial court has no more jurisdiction if you're granted an appellate bond. So the case kind of travels through the appellate jurisdiction until it gets sent back to the trial court. You don't serve your sentence. In a case like this, I would expect that they would let the appeal process go through one way or the other and then send it back to the trial court to determine when he should go into custody.
So still might have some time, and everyone will be standing by to see what the Supreme Court does, if they take it or not. Tom Rawlings, this was one of those cases that just seemed to frustrate the public, and you see he is still declaring his innocence. But what are your thoughts on the impact of this hoax on just reporting and how people feel about those who report?
Sure, Jay. I think the issue we face is that whenever there is really a miscarriage of justice, whether it is someone targeting someone on the basis of their race, or in this kind of situation where you apparently have a hoax and the person just stands by their hoax and appears to have enough funds and attorneys that they can fight it and fight it and fight it, people start to lose faith in the justice system. And when people lose faith in the justice system, how on earth can we ever expect them to serve on juries, to convict criminals, or to do what is necessary to make sure that we have a safe society? It's really it's really a stain on our culture, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's a difficult case, and his attorneys say they are going to keep fighting it. So we will follow closely what happens.